The Stars We Bled For, a story of warning, war, and the price of freedom. General Sarath Korvan stood in the grand sanctum of the celestial throne, and every scar on his armored body ached. He had requested this emergency audience 4 times before Emperor Voss Thelene finally agreed to see him. Now, standing before the Emperor's towering obsidian form and the 14 council members who governed the most powerful civilization in the known galaxy, Sarath knew his career was finished. But he had to try. The sanctum was built to crush the spirit. Columns of compressed stardust supported a ceiling displaying a live map of the stellar dominion. Thousands of systems glowing in pale gold, all under the throne's authority. All except one small yellow star at the map's edge, barely distinguishable from the others. General Korvan. The Emperor's voice did not come from a mouth. It resonated through the obsidian structure of his body, vibrating the air itself. You have disrupted council proceedings to deliver a warning. Speak. Sarath activated the projection unit in his armor. The air shimmered, and a 3-dimensional battlefield materialized before the assembled council. 4 months ago, my fleet encountered human vessels in the contested corridor near their system. He began, his voice steady despite the tremor underneath. Our orders were standard: display strength, demand acknowledgement of Dominion authority, and withdraw. Routine procedure. The hologram showed a small human exploration craft, barely the size of a Dominion patrol frigate. Visible weld seams, hand-painted markings on the hull. We disabled their engines with a suppression pulse, standard technique. We boarded to detain the crew. Sarath paused, his hand moving unconsciously to a deep scar across his ribs. There were 14 humans aboard. We sent 45 soldiers. 21 came back. A council member, Ambassador Felris, a gaseous being contained within a pressurized suit, made a sound like escaping steam. Surely, General, humans are barely a spacefaring species. They have no military technology of significance. That is what I believed, Sarath said quietly. He changed the projection. Footage from a soldier's helmet camera filled the air. The council fell silent. The recording showed Dominion soldiers moving through the cramped interior of the human vessel. Then the shooting started. A human male appeared in the corridor, already wounded, one arm torn away at the shoulder, some kind of pressurized fluid spraying from the stump. By every known biological standard, he should have been in shock, dying. Instead, he charged forward, firing a primitive kinetic weapon one-handed, screaming words the translator rendered as, "Come on then." The Dominion soldiers shot him 3 more times. He fell. As he went down, he threw something. The grenade detonated in the confined corridor. 4 soldiers died instantly. "They do not stop," Sarath said, cutting through the shocked silence. "We analyzed their biology afterward. They produce a chemical called adrenaline during physical crisis. It suppresses pain, overrides rational judgment. They continue fighting with injuries that would incapacitate or kill any species we have ever encountered." He showed more footage. A human woman trapped in a sealed compartment with no weapons had used a section of broken conduit to kill 2 Dominion soldiers in hand-to-hand combat before being subdued. Another human had deliberately vented his section's atmosphere, killing himself and 5 Dominion troops rather than be taken. "This is one desperate crew," said Council Commander Dravath, a massive being with thick natural armor plating across his shoulders. He stood at the rear of the chamber, arms folded. "You encountered people fighting for their lives. This tells us nothing about the species as a whole." "I thought the same," Sarath admitted. "So I spent 4 months studying them." The hologram shifted to show Earth, a blue-green world that looked serene from a distance. Then it zoomed inward. Cities, faces, history. "They are a death world species," Sarath continued. "Their planet's gravity exceeds our standard by 30%. Their atmosphere contains oxygen concentrations toxic to most galactic species. Their world is filled with predators, catastrophic weather systems, seismic events, diseases. They did not evolve as their planet's apex predator. They evolved as persistence hunters." Emperor Vosthaline's obsidian form pulsed slowly, the sign that he was listening closely. Persistence hunters do not win through strength or speed. They win by never stopping. They chase prey for days, sometimes weeks, until exhaustion defeats what force cannot. This trait is written into their biology, their psychology, their culture. They are literally built to never give up. You sound frightened of a species that controls one star system, Dravath said flatly. They have no faster-than-light capability. Their most powerful weapons are fusion-based. Our planetary shields could withstand their entire nuclear arsenal. I am frightened of them, Sarath said. The admission landed in the chamber like a dropped weapon. The general who had conquered 37 worlds for the Dominion, who had never once retreated. And I am telling you, that fear is rational. He pulled up more data. They form deep social bonds, not only with members of their own species, but with other species entirely. They will die for creatures they have known for days. They keep large carnivorous predators as household companions and grieve when those animals die. They have a concept in their language called spite, the willingness to accept personal harm if it causes greater harm to an enemy. The hologram shifted to show human history, wars stretching across every continent, every century. In the last 100 years of their recorded history, they have killed over 100 million of their own kind in warfare. They built weapons capable of destroying their planet and constructed enough of them to end their civilization 10 times. Only the reason those weapons were never used was that both sides feared retaliation. They called this mutually assured destruction and considered it a functional strategy for peace. This proves they are violent and self-destructive, Dravath said, flatly. Hardly a threat to the Dominion. They are violent, yes, but not self-destructive, not ultimately. In that same century, they advanced from basic aircraft to spacecraft, from mechanical computation to artificial intelligence. Their rate of technological development exceeds every species in our records, and every breakthrough was accelerated by warfare. He showed weapon designs, kinetic kill systems, nuclear warheads, biological agents, atmospheric poisons. He developed weapons they considered too terrible to use. Think about that. A species that killed 100 million of its own people looked at certain weapons and agreed they were too horrible for war. He let that settle before continuing. I accessed their data networks. I read their literature, philosophy, entertainment. Do you know what I found? They have a saying, the only thing necessary for evil to triumph is for good people to do nothing. They believe that inaction in the face of wrong is itself a moral failure. They have another, give me liberty or give me death. They value freedom above survival. They teach their children that resistance against impossible odds is noble. They have built shrines to soldiers who held positions until the last one died. The hologram showed images across human history, ancient warriors, modern soldiers, fictional heroes, all fighting, all refusing to yield. When we boarded that ship, one of the humans was already dying from our initial attack. We found him in the medical bay, connected to life support systems. When our soldiers entered, he disconnected himself from those systems, picked up a weapon, and killed 3 of my soldiers before his heart stopped. His last recorded words were, "Worth it." Emperor Vosthaliene spoke. "General, your concern is noted. However, we cannot leave one species outside Dominion authority simply because they resist. Many species resisted incorporation. All eventually submitted." "This is different," Sarath said. "Every species we have ever conquered had a breaking point, a casualty threshold they would not cross, a government that could capitulate, a collective will that could be broken. I have studied humans extensively. I cannot find that threshold. Their cities have been bombed to rubble, and survivors continued fighting from the wreckage. Soldiers cut off from all support fought independently for years. Ships with no hope of survival. Their crews sang songs as they died." He played his final recording, footage of a captured human soldier taken during the boarding action, young, barely past adolescence by human standards,
burns covering half her body, 3 fingers missing from her left hand. The interrogator asked why she had fought when surrender would have preserved her life. The girl looked directly into the camera. She smiled, blood on her teeth, and said something the translator struggled with for several seconds before rendering, "Because no." They have no direct word for surrender in several of their languages. The closest translations are tactical retreat or temporary repositioning, not surrender, not defeat, never those. Dravath laughed, a deep resonant sound. Then they are fools who cannot recognize when they have lost, all the better. Emperor, I volunteer to command the incorporation fleet. The human system is resource-rich and strategically valuable. With 500 ships, I will bring these violent primitives into the...
"Your caution is noted," the Emperor said, his tone concluding the matter. "But we cannot demonstrate weakness by avoiding one system. Commander Dravath, assemble 500 ships. Deliver our standard terms. Bring them in." Dravath bowed, armor plate scraping. "It will be done, Emperor." Sereth made one final attempt. "There is something else, something I have not said yet." He looked around the chamber, meeting every set of eyes. "Humans have a concept in their philosophy and religion. They call death the last enemy, not an enemy, the enemy, the final opponent that must eventually be defeated. They do not accept it. They fight diseases that should be terminal. They build machines to restart stopped hearts. They freeze their dead, hoping future technology can revive them. They extend the lives of their elderly far past what biology would otherwise allow. Not because they fear death, but because they refuse to accept it." He let the silence hold. "What do you think beings who have declared war on death itself will do when you threaten them with it?" The Emperor considered this. Then his obsidian form pulsed with something that might have been amusement. "Then we shall show them that some wars cannot be won. This audience is concluded." 6 months later, Admiral Mira Vasquez was reviewing supply manifests aboard the UED Sovereign when every alarm on the ship activated simultaneously. 500 vessels had dropped out of faster-than-light travel at the edge of the solar system, each one twice the size of Earth's largest carrier, moving in perfect formation. Humanity had always known this day might come. The ruins discovered on Mars decades ago, ancient cities long dead, had made the question not if, but when. So while politicians spoke of exploration and peace, engineers had built ships for war. 43 of them, every one constructed with a single purpose, to make the cost of attacking Earth unbearable. Mira assembled them all, vessels from 12 nations operating under emergency unified command, and positioned them between the incoming fleet and Earth. The alien transmission came 6 hours later, on every frequency simultaneously. "Attention, primitive species. Your system is now under Dominion jurisdiction. Cease all military activity and prepare to receive representatives. Resistance will be met with appropriate force. You have 1 planetary rotation to comply." Mira stood from her command chair. "Open a channel, all frequencies." Her communications officer nodded. "They're receiving, Admiral." "Unknown fleet, this is Admiral Mira Vasquez, United Earth Defense Force. You have entered our system without authorization and threatened our people. You have 1 opportunity to leave peacefully. If you do not, you will regret it. This is your only warning." She cut the channel before they could respond. Her tactical officer stared at her. "Admiral, we just threatened 500 ships with 43. "Yes," Mira said calmly. "Now we prepare. If they're intelligent, they'll leave. If they're not, we show them why Earth is still ours." Commander Dravath listened to the human transmission and laughed. His crew joined in.
His second-in-command, a careful officer named Soltath, did not laugh. "Sir, perhaps General Corvin's report." "Corvin is an old warrior who lost his nerve," Draveth interrupted. "Look at them. 43 ships against 500. Their largest vessel would fit in our cargo bay. Target their outer installation, the colony on the moon they call Callisto. Destroy it. Show them what defiance costs." "Sir, there are civilians. Give them 1 hour to evacuate. We are not savages." The colony administrator on Callisto received the warning with 54 minutes to spare. Commander Priya Osai ordered immediate evacuation. 4,000 miners and their families ran for the transports. Priya stayed behind with 18 volunteers, engineers, demolition specialists, and one furious mining foreman named Alexei Reinhold, who had spent 12 years building the colony from nothing. "They want our home?" Alexei growled, already moving toward the explosive storage. "Fine, let them have it, but I will not leave them one piece of useful equipment." They rigged every structure, every tunnel, every machine. Priya uploaded a virus to the methane processing plant's automated systems. Then she waited in the control room until confirmation came that the last transport was clear. She had 30 seconds on the detonation timer. She used 25 of them to record a message. "To whoever finds this, Callisto was ours. You took it. I hope you choke on every meter of it." She pushed the button. The methane plant went first. Then the mine charges detonated in sequence, collapsing the entire colony into the tunnels below. As a final gesture, Priya had fired the orbital docking platform's positioning thrusters one last time before decoupling it, giving it lateral momentum as it fell. It came down like a thrown spear directly into the nearest Dominion destroyer. The platform tore through the Dominion shields and ripped open its hull. Atmosphere vented, fires erupted. The ship began to list badly. Draveth watched in silence. One of his warships crippled not by weapons, but by infrastructure. The humans had turned their own colony into an attack. A lucky shot, he told himself. He gave the order to advance. The battle that followed lasted 9 hours. The humans struck first, which Draveth had not expected. Hundreds of autonomous drones swarmed the Dominion formation, fast, maneuverable, and not trying to fight. They were trying to ram. Nuclear reactors rigged to explode on impact. 3 Dominion frigates died in the first 30 seconds. The human warships fired missiles on indirect ballistic trajectories, then retreated, drawing the Dominion fleet into a minefield seated between Mars and Earth. Mines that had been dormant for years activated all at once. More ships died. Draveth watched the tactical display. He was winning. Of course he was winning. His fleet outnumbered theirs 10 to 1. But the cost was wrong. Deeply, fundamentally wrong. When the human flagship's weapons were finally exhausted, Admiral Vasquez gave her crew one last order: abandon ship. She waited until every escape pod had launched. Then she opened a final channel to the Dominion fleet.
When the light faded, Draveth's flagship was gone. So was the Sovereign. So were 2 other Dominion ships caught too close to the blast. Final count, the human defense fleet, completely destroyed. Not one warship remaining. Dominion losses, 91 ships. They had traded 1 for 1 against an enemy that should have fallen in minutes. Draveth sat in the medical bay of his secondary command ship, his leg broken, reading casualty reports. A low-priority message flagged during the battle waited in his queue. Footage recovered from a boarded human vessel, a compartment that had been venting atmosphere. 14 humans trapped inside, knowing they were dying. They had been singing. The translator struggled with the lyrics. Something about standing together, about dying free, about refusing chains. They sang until the air ran out. Draveth closed the file. He looked at the tactical display. Earth was there, below him. Billions of humans, every single one apparently willing to do exactly what those 14 had done. He thought about turning back. He genuinely considered it.
But the Emperor was watching. "Prepare orbital bombardment," he ordered. "We take their planet." In his personal log that night, he wrote one sentence he would never share. Corvan was right. 3 months into the occupation, Dominion ground forces controlled 3 city blocks across the entire planet. Every city had been empty when they landed. The humans had gone underground, into bunkers built during their own wars against each other, some of them decades old. Command centers buried under mountain ranges. Factories hidden in abandoned mines. Entire populations relocated to subterranean shelters stocked for years. The attacks came only at night from everywhere and nowhere. Snipers who fired once and vanished. Explosive devices buried in streets, chemical agents deployed in tunnel systems, and every night music echoed through empty corridors, loud, defiant, relentless. We are still here. We are still fighting. We will not stop. General Sarath Corvan arrived unannounced at Dravath's command station on day 90. "You came to say you were right," Dravath said. "I came to help you minimize casualties because this war is already lost. You just don't know it yet." He pulled up a holographic display. In 3 months, 6,000 human combatants killed, 4,000 Dominion soldiers dead, plus another 800 to accidents and disease. You've lost 2/3 as many troops as you've killed, fighting an enemy with no space fleet, no orbital defenses, and no central command structure. They control everything outside your 3 city blocks. Their industrial capacity is intact because they built it underground. Their population is mostly alive because they evacuated before you arrived. Every day you stay, they grow stronger. Every day you stay, you grow weaker. Dravath had no answer. The numbers were undeniable. "Leave now," Sarath said. "Tell the Emperor Earth cannot be conquered without an effort that would hollow out the Dominion itself. Quarantine the system and move on." The Emperor would see it as cowardice. "Then you will die here, you and every soldier under your command, because humans do not surrender and they do not forgive." 1 year after the invasion began, 96 new human warships emerged from inside hollowed-out asteroids throughout the solar system, built in secret, reverse-engineered from captured Dominion technology, equipped with kinetic accelerators that fired solid projectiles at near light speeds. Shields designed to absorb energy beams were useless against them. The second battle lasted 8 hours. When it ended, the human fleet withdrew, but not before a woman appeared on every screen in the Dominion fleet, older, gray-haired, with a ship captain's uniform and cold eyes. "I am Captain Priya Osei. 1 year ago, you destroyed my home on Callisto. I survived. I spent this year building the ship I'm standing on. I named it Priya's Last Word. You brought war to our home. We are returning it." The display behind her showed the Dominion star map with 37 systems already marked in red. "We know where your homeworlds are. We know your supply routes, your colonies, your weaknesses. We have already sent ships to all of them." Dravath felt his heart stop. "You taught us total war. Now we teach you what that means." 5 years later, Emperor Vos Thalion stood before General Corvan and Admiral Dravath and looked at a star map that had lost 1/3 of its solid territory. 300 human warships, possibly more. They hide their construction facilities constantly. They are not trying to conquer us, Emperor. They are bleeding us. Every raid inspires another rebellion. Every successful attack proves the Dominion can be defeated. They have become a symbol. Then an aide rushed in, a breach of protocol so severe that guards raised weapons before recognizing him. "A human fleet has appeared in the capital system, 20 ships. They are broadcasting a request to speak with Imperial leadership." 20 ships, Dravath said quietly. "They could do significant damage before we stop them, but they're asking to talk." "Then we listen," Corvan said. 3 hours later, Sarath Corvan stood in the diplomacy hall and watched the human delegation arrive. He had only seen them in recordings before. In person, they looked fragile, small, soft, unarmored. But their eyes...
The delegation was led by Admiral Mira Vasquez, the woman who had rammed her own flagship into a Dominion cruiser and somehow survived. She looked at the intimidation-designed room, nodded once as if confirming something, and sat without waiting for permission. "Thank you for meeting us. Nobody enjoys admitting a mistake." "You are bold," the Emperor said coldly, "for someone whose planet we could sterilize." "You could try," Vasquez replied pleasantly, "but it would be the last thing your empire ever did. We have stealth ships in orbit around every major Dominion world right now, automated systems that activate if we miss our regular override codes. If Earth dies, hundreds of your worlds die with it. We call it mutually assured destruction. It's a very old idea for us. We're quite comfortable with it." The chamber erupted. Vasquez waited until it quieted. "You invaded our home. You killed millions of our people. You started a war you expected to win in 2 months. We are offering you a way out that doesn't end with both civilizations in ash. These are our terms." She listed them. Full sovereignty recognition for Earth and all colonies. Reparations over 50 years. A 50-light-year neutral zone. A formal apology. "The reparations alone," Dravath began. "Then you should not have started a war you couldn't afford to lose," Vasquez said. She looked at him directly, and Dravath, who had conquered 40 worlds, looked away first. "You lost people. I lost people. This war has cost both of us more than either of us wanted to pay. It ends here, or it ends when one of us no longer exists." The Emperor looked at Corvan. "You warned us. What is your recommendation?" "Accept their terms. We cannot win this war. We can only choose how quickly we lose it." The Emperor's obsidian form pulsed with complex patterns for a long moment. Then, for the first time in the Dominion's 1,000-year history, an Emperor bowed to a species they had tried to conquer. In the final night before the human delegation departed, Sarath Corvan found Admiral Vasquez on an observation deck watching the stars. "I tried to warn them," he said. "I know. You read my report." She was quiet for a moment. "It was the most respectful thing anyone has ever done for us. You saw what we were capable of and tried to prevent us from becoming it." "I failed." "You tried. That matters." He looked at her, small, fragile-looking, standing in the soft light of distant stars. "What would you have done if we had refused your terms?" She considered the question seriously before answering. "We would have burned the Dominion to the ground. Every world, every station, every ship. We wouldn't have stopped until nothing remained. And then we would have mourned every death, yours and ours, and carried that weight for the rest of our lives. You truly declared war on death itself. We declared war on anyone who threatens our freedom. Death is just another enemy, but it is the last one, and we intend to defeat it too, eventually." She offered her hand, the human gesture of farewell and respect. Sarath took it, feeling how small it was in his, knowing everything it represented. "May we never meet in battle, Admiral. May we never need to, General." In his retirement, General Sarath Corvan wrote a single book. The final chapter was titled "The Warning No One Heeded." It became required reading at every military academy in what remained of the Dominion. The last paragraph was brief. "If you encounter humans in your travels, show them respect, offer them friendship, treat them as equals. Because if you make them your enemy, they will teach you the same lesson they taught us, and by the time the lesson is learned, it will be far too late to matter." Somewhere across the galaxy, on every human ship and every human world, they sang their songs of defiance, of hope, of a species that had looked at the most powerful empire in existence and said one word clearly: no. That word had changed everything, and the galaxy would never be the same.